What is up, and welcome to 24 Minutes of the Oscars, the podcast that takes a look at the 2024 Oscars 24 minutes at a time. I'm Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we are kicking off Oscar season with a special conversation, so special I can't even say it, with returning guest, Variety's Senior Awards Editor, Clayton Davis. Welcome back.
Hello, Benny Burrito. I don't know. When you said your last name, I was like, what's your last name? Is that
It's
Burrito?
Yeah.
It's his Burrito.
It's a legal last name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ethan's all like, my name's Ethan Simi. And that's my handle too.
Oh, wow. We're like 90 seconds into this pod and we're getting slandered. What's going on?
Because I really like it too. And I also just want to point out like the obvious thing in the room also. Your podcast title is a lie. It's not 24 minutes, right?
The biggest lie.
Right? Okay.
Yes, 100%. We build our podcast based on false advertising.
Yeah.
And we false advertise to ourselves.
Can we say something because it's A24 related? And I feel like I don't know if you guys noticed, the whole Civil War over 3 hour debacle has now been broken.
Thank you. I was just going to bring this up.
It's not over 3 hours long.
It looked like you were not looking forward to that based on your quote tweet there.
Oh, like you don't understand that my heart shattered into pieces when like I heard it, because what was it? They were clocking it at 195 minutes.
Yeah, 3:15, I think.
And I was like, oh no, this is going to be not good.
Yeah.
I really like Alex Garland a lot. And I'm not even that big a fan of Annihilation. Like obviously Ex Machina is like, chef's kiss. But I think he's a very fascinating filmmaker. And I was like, no, they like Ari Astered him. He's just going to run amok now.
Do whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah. See, this is great because I'm on the total opposite side of you guys. I was like, 3 hours of Garland. Let's go. Like, give me, current political America with a great cast. Can't wait.
I need to set the record straight on something. It's not that I don't like 3 hour movies. I don't like boring 3 hour movies.
Yeah.
So when I hear, and I think the ratio of great earned 3 hours is not equal. Like we don't have like,
it's not
you do 3 hours, you got to earn it with me. So like even Scorsese, who we've spoken about in this podcast and I love dearly, hasn't earned it every time. So I get weary.
What is it at now? So an hour and 49 minutes is the actual runtime. Okay.
I think it was 103 minutes I saw.
Cool.
Which is like right there, 2.5 stars. I don't care if it's a snuff film. We have to reward the behavior we want to see more of. So 90 minutes, 100 minutes, you're getting a pass. I don't care what it's
an automatic 2.5 stars. I love it.
That's why you guys should watch Fallen Leaves. Finland's submission for the Oscars, 81 minutes.
What?
It is.
I almost saw that last week.
Easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. It's so good.
I love it. That's amazing.
This close. Well, we have made it to Oscar season. Just to state the obvious here. Here on the podcast, we've made it to Oscar season. So, Clayton, you're kicking us off this year the same that you did last year with kind of a little preview conversation. So the next 12, 13 weeks, we here on the show, we're switching from A24. We're going full Academy Awards mode. We're going to break down every single Best Picture nominee. We're going to have reaction pods to when nomination lists come out, to after the Academy Awards. And then the week after, we're going to kind of revisit everything and try to collect ourselves if we don't internally combust about a made-up award show.
Yeah.
So we're very excited.
And talk about what Clayton got wrong on this podcast.
100%. Yeah.
Got it.
100%. It's all about what you're going to get wrong.
Our most viewed episodes are always like, what Clayton got wrong. Here we go.
Yep. Listen, I love it. I live for it.
Clayton reaction video. I will say Ben is the reigning champ between the two of us on predictions for last year and winners. And I'm pretty sure that's only because Babylon was snubbed in original score. And then I just took a downhill after that.
Or people just knew that Babylon wasn't going to
get out of town. It lost to All Quiet on the Western Front. What are we doing, guys?
For score, the All Quiet fucking rocks, man. And that's not to say, listen, I think Babylon.
What Clayton got wrong. No, we're back. We looped back to it.
We're starting that episode early. Babylon is actually like fine. Like, I was going to say fine. It is an ambitious swing that does not connect with the ball.
Yeah.
But that score, I saw Justin Hurwitz score live concert last year that he did on the campaign trail, and it was delightful.
Wow.
Like, hear that music live was beautiful. So great. The best element of that movie is the score. So It Loses All Quiet is like 1A, 1B kind of thing.
Sure. I will say, Ben, you're my witness here, and everybody that has listened to last week's episode of the pod. At the very end of the episode of the pod, I predicted that we would be talking about Babylon, and we're 6 minutes into the show, and we fucking did it.
You made it.
And I couldn't be prouder.
It's because Ethan Simmy's on this podcast.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's like standard Ethan Simmy. This guy.
I'm sure La La Land will come up at some point.
Yeah, it's Fish in a Barrel. It's La La Land, it's Babylon, or it's Oppenheimer. Something is going to come up about one of those three movies.
That's it. But, well, I'm not going to talk about any three of those movies right now because we are an A24 pod. So I'm going to try my best to kind of swing us in the Oscars direction here using A24 as my middleman. So there's been a lot of talk, and Clayton, this is really my first talking point question to you. A lot of talk, a lot of heat recently of the Iron Claw and A24's release approach / strategy with that movie and potentially missing opportunities. All of that aside, people have been obviously talking about Zac Efron and what feels like the inherent need to be nominated for an Academy Award. Do you see that happening at all? Can this movie pick up steam to garner him a nomination? Is it even worthy of a nomination?
So Iron Claw. Let me start with the critics, and this is again in a vacuum, in a bubble. Some people know things. Film Twitter is very loud, and they take things as absolute truth when not everyone has all the required information. And by the way, was also guilty of this before working at Variety as well. So it's just like when you step to the other side, you're like, oh, sausage being made. I see it. Missed opportunity. Iron Claw wasn't done until like November. He was working on it that entire time. There were multiple versions of this cut of the movie. And if you follow like some of the Reddit forums, like a lot of people that before I worked at Variety, way before I don't think before I started my website before I started my website, I used to get into early screenings for test screenings. That's how I used to see a lot of stuff early. So I saw an early version of The Departed that there's like 20 minutes after Matt Damon gets shot. I saw Bobby with Emilio Estevez's movie, Robert F. Kennedy. There's like a storyline of Lindsay Lohan's in that movie, and you know how like she like falls in love with a guy that's like going off to war. Turns out she was like dating his brother, and then fell in love with the soldier. Is like it starts this whole love triangle. They just cut that part out of the final version. So there were multiple versions of Iron Claw out there. So it got finished really late. So there was no, you can go to TIFF, Telluride, all that stuff. That just wasn't happening. With that said, seeing the movie, it's strange. I have this every now and then. I actually love the Iron Claw, but it's a movie I will never probably watch again. It's the most depressing movie of all time. and it's a Suicide Brothers short, you know, even in that regard. So I think there's a few movies every year that get in this unique position of, you know, it's a great movie, but how do you market this and how do you get people to watch it? So for Iron Claw, it's like, okay, you put Zac Efron front and center, and that's how you can sell it. And I think you hear the Von Erich name if you're a wrestling enthusiast, and that gets you interested. But it feels niche in that little paradigm there. I think the most of this movie can hope for. I mean, Zac Efron. I don't know when this episode's coming out, if SAG nominations are out by this time, so I may be completely wrong. I think Zac is a dark horse to pop up at the SAG Awards for Best Actor.
When do those nominations come out?
January.
Okay, this episode January will go live on January 2nd. So.
Oh yeah, so no, it won't be out. So yeah.
Okay.
There is a shot that Zac pops up at SAG. I don't even think, even if that happens, I don't think that translates to Oscar. Adam Sandler popped up at SAG last year. It didn't mean anything. I think a lot of it is just a little too late, too little, too late to the party. It's hard to be the last movie that pops up. I think Holt McCallany is fantastic in that movie. He plays the dad. I think he's probably the easiest thing to grab onto for an awards push. But even that at this point, I think is kind of a long shot. But I think the movie is great. I think it's edited superbly. I think the editing in that movie is so well done. I think the original song in that movie will shatter your heart into pieces. Anyone doesn't know it, it's like literally the song that the brother sings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the original song, and that's pretty
Crazy.
like heartfelt. It's a Sean Durkin movie. Like people like early on when I was hearing rumors about it, they're like, oh, I heard it's really dark and depressing. I'm like, oh, it's a Sean Durkin movie. Oh, got it. I saw Martha Mercy May Marlene. I know what he does.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those that like not every movie has to be an awards movie. Some movies are just great and they will have their audience. I think it will find itself in years, not necessarily like right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if there was an award for saddest movie with the sickest Rush montage, this definitely wins because like that Tom Sawyer needle drop is just fucking amazing. I love it. But
I saw a good take going around on Twitter this morning. Actually, speaking of like the flip of what film Twitter can do, and somebody was like, "This is like the saddest, most isolated movie about these very, very sad, tragic events, where also you get an incredible Rush montage that you're just like, dudes rock in the same movie, and you're just very, very true. Like I do think it has that interesting." Kind of dichotomy it feels. Yeah,
it's funny. I was talking to one of my editors about it, and they were sharing with me that they hated the movie, but it's not because they think it's a bad movie. It's just to take that story in. I think especially if you're walking in blindly and you don't know what happens, that first half of that movie is so delightful and so picturesque. Yeah. And I remember watching it the first time, and I was like, oh no. Like I was like, oh my God, it's too happy right now. It's about to wreck everyone. And if anyone read my initial piece from the very first screening that happened in LA, guy sitting in front of me starts bawling loudly. Like it was right after I think it's Mike falls into a coma. So we're already one dead kid in at that point, and like shit's just falling apart, and he is audibly sobbing, and the woman next to him like puts her arm around and puts her head on his shoulder, like literally trying to hold it together, and then like he grabs his, like he was on crutches, grabs his crutch and crutched out of the room.
Oh damn.
Like, he came back in for the Q&A. I don't know if he what else he watched, but he like the movie is relentless, and some people just don't like to put themselves through that. Like I had a friend, I don't know if you guys have friends like this. There's always friends that ask me always for movie recommendations, and they always have like rules with me, and they're like, oh, give me a movie recommendation. There can't be dead kids. And I thought of one of my friends that used to say that to me all the time. I think I would not tell him to go see this.
This is not the movie for you.
No dead kids.
Efron got me at the end there, really got me good. So
can we also just side note, when he stands up in that initial out of bed scene and his fucking thighs.
Thank you.
Dude.
Thank you. It's unreal,
like,
right?
Fucking horse hooves that he's like acquired. Like I was like, Jesus, like this man's a machine. Like just like Zach. This also, I like moments like this. This is like the Jim Carrey Truman Show moment of his career where people were like, hey, wait, Zach can act. Look at that. And I'm like, yeah. Actually, I think he proved it when he played Ted Bundy. I think he's great in that film. I was going to say extremely loud and incredibly close. That's not it. It's extremely wicked, vile, whatever. But yeah, like he's really well done. Like the whole cast is really great. And Maura Tierney, my God, to have an Oscar scene with like such little words, like she can just exude devastation.
Yeah. She was great. Zach got out of that bed like Captain America coming out of that machine. You know, it's like, oh shit, okay, this is you're not messing around.
This is you.
We did it.
Yeah, this is it. I want to switch gears to another movie that made me cry this year. My favorite movie of the year, which is Past Lives. I'm curious if you think it is got the legs, I guess, to generate enough hype to be qualified or to make it for Best Picture. I know we've got 10 that we're getting this year again. Do you think it's going to make for Best Picture? If not, are there any other nominations that you think it might be picking up?
So,
please say John Magaro. That's all I want to hear out of your mouth.
Listen,
John Magaro for supporting actor, please.
Listen, let me tell you about John Magaro, man. Like, look, probably top 2 best supporting performances this year. is in John Magaro. Like incredible, but that man cannot get arrested at an Indie Spirit Award, at a Gotham Awards. Like they're just passing him over. I'm like, what are we? The guys, that's the home field.
Brutal.
Like, what are we doing? So unfortunately, I think we're gonna be John Magaro-less unless SAG comes through and then makes a good day.
Cross.
So Past Lives has been such an interesting question mark for me this season. There are moments that I feel really strong that it's going to be in Best Picture. Now, if anyone has been following me for years and can decipher my Oscar forecast, I have to I always say you have to build the Best Picture nominee through like branches of the Academy and through like pockets of voter demographics. So I'm like, okay, who's coming through for the actors? I'm coming through for Past Lives. Probably the actors, right? Because I think Past Lives only feels assured like 2 nominations right now, and that's picture and screenplay. And that's really hard to that just be your only 2 nominations and you're in Best Picture. Now, obviously we had that last year. Women Talking did that. And I predicted Women Talking in the end, even though people were calling me dumb for doing that. It was because I knew the actors were coming through for the movie. They just couldn't decide on which one to go for of the women and supporting actress, but they were all getting votes, just not enough to put them into the 5. And then A Serious Man did it back in 2009. Got into picture and screenplay. That was also a Coen Brothers movie. And I think probably the actors came through for it too, because I think Michael Stuhlbarg was on the table, just couldn't get in there. So now Greta Lee has landed everywhere. Looking good right now. She's still, I think SAG would make her feel really secure. But I think it seems like it's between her, Margot Robbie, and Sandra Hüller for getting those like last 2 alleged spots in Best Actress. So Betty Man today, I say Past Lives is in. But I really need it to like get in other places. I think Celine Song is going to win the DGA award for first time director.
Okay.
So I think there's a world where she makes it into the director lineup, but she's got leapfrog some pretty big names in movies.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I was going to mention kind of the after sun of everything that happened last year with A24 and what happened with Charlotte Wells and obviously Paul Mescal and doing and performing well at these Indie Spirit Awards and other places that kind of did help push them to the finish line.
You know, after Sun's such an interesting, like, that it feels like a precedent, but it's also like a precedent like I still can't explain today. I don't know how Paul Mescal makes it in that lineup, and that's not to say that I think he's unworthy of it. I can't find a nominee like Paul Mescal in history that felt like him from a movie like that. Because that movie was small. Like Past Lives is small, but it feels bigger. You know, After Sun was so indie. And when I was doing like my final forecast, I was like, it's gonna miss screenplay, which I correctly predicted. It missed screenplay. But Paul still made it in. And it just like doesn't like I can't understand why. What I don't know what demographic he got into. Past Lives, I think, is gonna do well with international voters, and then I think there is crossover in American votership. I just think people just have to make time for it, and people have to also be on board with what she's doing, because I think saying it's a straightforward love story is a little too simplistic for it. Obviously, I think Ben, that's your favorite movie. I think you probably test to that it does way more than just like, oh, 2 people that are in love and trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
There is like a devastation scene that it ends with that some people, like my wife doesn't like Past Lives because she doesn't agree with the method in which she's trying to answer this question about her past love.
Okay.
But I can understand that. I can understand why she feels like that. But I think if you can't understand that, then maybe you're not on board with the movie.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Sense.
Speaking of movies that might do well amongst international voters, this is kind of the last A24 flick that I wanted to put into this conversation before we go, more big and broad with the Academy Awards as a whole. The Zone of Interest is still in a limited release across the nation, New York and LA, at least in the time of recording this. I've seen it. I saw it at New York Film Festival. Ben has not had the chance to see it yet. We haven't covered it here on the pod. It has the rumors of being of course, a Best International Feature and a Best Picture, and having a lot of talk around it. Anatomy of a Fall also is kind of filling this international slot, if you will, at a Best Picture race situation. Does The Zone of Interest get in with it being a limited release so far, with it fighting against another international feature, with it, quite frankly, just being an absolutely horrific subject matter that it's tackling?
So I saw Zone of Interest at Cannes, which I think was a perfect place to drop the movie, because then I got in real time that it was an international votership play. I love Zone of Interest. That is a divisive movie. I think first of all, you have to be on board with Jonathan Glazer, and like he's like, I put him like in a Wes Anderson boat. Like some people are just never going to be on board with whatever Wes Anderson's doing, no matter what he tries to do. And this probably is probably his most accessible movie that Jonathan Glazer's ever done, and it's not accessible like for a lot of people. I also think there has something to be said about what's happening in Israel and Palestine, that some people feel like, I don't want to watch a Holocaust movie right now, even though it's like not a traditional Holocaust movie where you don't see anything. Johnny Byrne's sound design is like next level, that movie. I think it could get in. I'm predicting it to get in right now. It is a directing feat. It's going to rely on a lot of the international demographic, which I think is also voting for Anatomy of a Fall, as you said. I think Poor Things also gets a lot of international votes. And believe it or not, I think Maestro actually does well internationally too.
Are you pro Maestro, Clayton?
I like Maestro. I really like Maestro. I won't say I love Maestro. I love the direction of I think Bradley Cooper is a director with a big D.
Capital
now.
D.
And I think he's always been
capital A acting too.
Oh, I think he's always been one of our best actors. Like I just like since American Sniper, and I hate American Sniper as a movie, but I was like, when I saw American Sniper, I was like, this is the best thing he's ever done at that point yet. And then he did Star is Born. I was like, oh, never mind. This is the best thing he's ever done. And now Maestro, I'm like, oh, this rivals probably Star is Born. I think everything in black and white in that movie is what like doesn't do it for me at times. The first 20 minutes of that movie, I was really hating it. I was like, oh no. Like this.
Oh, interesting.
Like I felt very differently. I thought it was careening off a cliff. I was like, oh no, this is not good. This is actually awful. And then it gets exceptional. Everything after he does the dance. The dance on is brilliant.
I love the dance.
Yeah, the dance is great. And then everything after that's great. Everything before that, like when they were like meeting, I was like, oh, I don't like this.
Oh, interesting.
That's why that's why I'm like, I really, really like it, but can't say I quite love it. But there are parts. Like I think Carrie and Bradley are incredible. I also think Carrie should have won supporting.
Nice.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit of a side departure here. We don't have to investigate this too heavily, but I think the Netflix of everything and like their relationship with the Academy, especially coming out of a year with the strikes and seeing how that might impact voters and voting bodies and how people feel about certain films, it's just really fascinating to see every year what Netflix kind of like attaches their carriage to and where they go in hopes that they will do what really The Power of the Dog should have done, what Roma should have done, what The Irishman possibly should have done, not goose egged, right? Like, I think it's very interesting that they continually choose the wrong movies to go after. And I only bring that up to juxtapose it against something like May December that's had a really huge swell of support, especially in the Charles Melton supporting actor arena, and people saying like, oh, this should be a best picture. Oh, this should be a best supporting actor. This is what Netflix should go towards.
I think that, you know, it's interesting. Like last year was the only time I think that they attached themselves to the wrong early pony and then obviously swapped to All Quiet. And then if they had been on All Quiet all season, it might have been a different story. Because obviously Bardo was Bardo and White Noise was White Noise, right?
Oof.
But I think they're attached to the right pony of theirs. And May December, by the way, and I love May December, incredibly divisive as well. Like that movie, like there's a day that it's just Charles Melton. There's also a day that you could tell me, by the way, that movie pulled a donut on Oscar nom morning, and I could believe you.
Sure.
Just because it's a different type of movie.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. That's totally fair. I do love his performance in there. I think that movie's a lot of fun. I want to get into some nominations here. We're seeing some like local critics awards handing out nominations and some awards. And it feels like early on, we're seeing a lot of like Barbies like leading the way with 11 nominations, all that kind of stuff. What movie do you feel will be taking home the most nominations at the Oscars? Like, will Barbie be continuing this? Will it be Oppenheimer with a lot of the technical stuff? Something else we're not thinking of? And is there anything that you feel is also just going to take home the most wins?
So nomination wise, too close to call. We're gonna presidential race this right now. It could be Barbie, it could be Oppenheimer, it could be Killers, it could be Poor Things. I think we're also going to be in a year like 2019. I think we're gonna have 4 movies have double digits nominations. And I think it's gonna be like those 4. Poor Things, you know, depending on what it snags. It's probably the most vulnerable to not hit 10, but I think they're all pretty in a good spot. Barbie, if you read my predictions as of today, time of recording, I have it predicted to tie La La Land, All About Eve, and Titanic as the most nominated film of all time.
Wow.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And I think people underestimate how that can happen, like pretty easily. Does that mean it wins Best Picture? No. As a matter of fact, I think if it got 14, it would be the end of it winning Best Picture, because I think people would, it would almost be a collective, everyone pump the brakes and go, wait, what the fuck are we about to do here? Like a lot of that. Sometimes there is something that's doing too well. I do think if La La Land didn't get 14, we may have seen a different outcome.
Yeah.
I know we're an A24 pod and we should be supporting Moonlight, but still a soft topic.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, and listen, I love like the Moonlight one. And, you know, there's obviously different variables to it, but I think there is such a thing as doing too well. Like if Shape of Water had actually pulled it off, Shape of Water was 1 short of the record, and I think all it needed was like sound editing. I think it missed that, because they were doing, that's when they were split at the time. So Barbie right now I have at 14. I have Oppenheimer at 13, and I think I have Killers like at 11.
Can I grapple onto that idea and what we're talking about and function towards Oppenheimer? Because obviously I'm a huge Oppenheimer guy. We're going to cover it next week here on the show. It's a huge player this year. You mentioned Barbie potentially doing too well. Can Oppenheimer find itself in the same boat and potentially only pull a Dune and go below the line and then leave room for other things? Or I guess, how do you personally see that playing out or predict necessarily?
I mean, listen, this is Christopher Nolan's to lose. Like, I've said many times throughout the season, like, he really needs to fuck this up to, like, not have this be his time. And I think he's been fine thus far, except for, you know, talking shit about CGI and what cost Oppenheimer visual effects. Other than that, he's been fine the entire time. Oppenheimer, so again, building a Best Picture winner, right? And this is how Clayton's beautiful mind, Russell Crowe moment works. Like, we're in my office right now, but like there's times there's yarn going across here, and I'm trying to like pull shit together.
Well, Charlie action.
So Oppenheimer, you build out the day of, okay, what is it winning below the line? Like, I think it's walking in with score, sound, and probably cinematography in hand. I would also be comfortable giving it editing. That's 4. And then I think at that point, then I, again, comfortably say, okay, Christopher Nolan's director win is 5. There's no reason why you just shouldn't think it's picture and then just say 6. So 6 feels like nice and comfortable. There are people who are thinking like, you know, it's going to be, he'll three-peat like Iñárritu did with Birdman. He'll win picture, director, and screenplay, which could totally happen. I would say like the year of Lord of the Rings Return of the King, a lot of pundits weren't predicting Lord of the Rings to win adapted screenplay. They thought that was like a little bit of the, they're like, oh, we don't have to give it everything. So that'll be for you, Mystic River. And then they didn't. They just did a clean sweep, 11 for 11. So if Oppenheimer's at 13 nominations, I don't think that's too much. I think obviously the acting wins then come into question a lot. And there's a very good debate happening about who people think can win or will win of the alleged, I'm going to say alleged trio that they think is going to get nominated from that movie. And I think I look back at something like 2002 Best Actor, where Daniel Day-Lewis and Richard Gere won the Globe. No. Jack Nicholson and Richard Gere won the Globe. Daniel Day-Lewis won SAG, and Adrian Brody won the Oscar. And it was just messy as fuck. Very messy season. I think we could have another messy Best Actor season, or it's going to be like 2014, where everyone seemed so adamant. And I'm going to say, I was in this boat too. We were in the wrong boat. We were like, Michael Keaton, enjoy your moment, man.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's going to be able to take this away. And we watched him win the Globe. We were like, there goes, starts that. And we all ignored this little fucking cute kid over here, Eddie Redmayne, who beat Benedict Cumberbatch, who we all thought Benedict Cumberbatch was the challenger that season. He beat Benedict Cumberbatch, and we're like, that's it, Benedict's done, because they'll never give it to a 14-year-old boy named Eddie Redmayne. And then at SAG, Eddie won SAG, and then we were like, oh, it's just over. And it doesn't matter, because the mindset behind that was, how do you give Birdman picture, director, all these Oscars, and the lead of the movie isn't winning? Easy. Right. They just don't do it sometimes.
Yeah.
That's tough. I think that's interesting. I am, of course, I'm very personally invested in like the Oppenheimer of everything in the race, and to see how things do shake out. I want to get into some more specific races, and of course the first one that I have here on the notes is the Best Actor race.
Bloodbath 101.
Exactly. I'm really curious. It feels like Cillian Murphy's to lose, and it feels like it might be his time, as you say, with some other things. We've got Leo up here potentially for Killers of the Flower Moon, Bradley Cooper for Maestro. I personally would love to see an Andrew Scott nomination for All of Us Strangers. I do think, to your point, it feels like a little bit of a bloodbath. How do you see it shaking out, and is it actually Cillian's to lose?
Let me lay the groundwork for Ethan. I'm doing Ben a favor here. I want to prep Ben. I want to prep Ben with all the knowledge to console Ethan if you need this such information. If
you don't need to speak this into existence. That's the thing.
Flashing press this button. Okay. Best Actor. When I say bloodbath, I'm not just like, it's like a term of endearment. Oh, that means it's competitive. Like, no, that means I think anybody can miss. There is no lock in the category. And I really believe, I think it's really between 6 guys for 5 spots. And that's what makes it so unpredictable. It's because you can argue. I mean, there are people, okay, let me try. There is an overwhelming feeling that Bradley Cooper is the front runner. Which is prefaced with 2 facts. The dude has 9 Oscar nominations. He hasn't won yet. Overdue is a narrative that, hello, welcome Jeff Bridges. You rode that all the way to the market for a performance that I like. Love Jeff Bridges, God bless his heart, but no one cares about Crazy Heart a decade later, 15 years later. And that's not what we know him for. But everyone at that moment was like, okay, we don't have to give it to Colin Firth. We don't have to give it to Jeremy Renner. We'll just give it to Jeff Bridges. It's something we can do, and we all feel good about it. And then Jeff Bridges has an Oscar. That's a good world to live in. So Bradley Cooper has that. And that's very helpful. And also the second thing is he's in a biopic. Mm-hmm. Hello, Gary Oldman, Darkest Hour. Like Brendan Fraser last year, and it goes with makeup. And I think Maestro is going to win makeup. And that makeup win always weirdly just clicks to a lead acting win. So that's why Bradley feels like the undisputed front. But I see the spoiler here to win the Oscar is Paul Giamatti.
Okay.
Oh.
No one, and that is reverse Eddie Redmayne. Like that is the one because I think some people aren't even thinking he's going to win the Globe. They think Jeffrey Wright is, which he could, right? Jeffrey Wright feeling like Benedict Cumberbatch, in that way of like, an actor's actor, established journeyman actor, finally gets his first nom after some time. And here comes this other guy that just like takes it and we kind of will write it off like nothing. And then all of a sudden, Paul Giamatti is like just really about to like make some noise here and then pulls it off. The Holdovers is incredibly well liked. And who doesn't want to kind of give Paul Giamatti an Oscar? Like, no one's going to bitch about that.
Yeah.
It just feels so like it, because I have him on my podcast next week. So when this comes out,
nice.
Guys, you can listen
to
my
Can you ask him for me? Can you ask him for me if he does win the Oscar? Can he go up there in all blue and accept it as Big Fat Liar Paul Giamatti?
I already had the interview, but like literally I told him on the podcast, I named a disease after him. There's Paul Giamatti disease in Hollywood. Willem Dafoe has it too. You make it look so goddamn easy that people don't realize what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, and the Holdovers, people write it off as like, oh, like he's a guy with a lazy eye. Like what's, and he has one-line zingers in that movie. He makes you cry in that movie. You just don't understand how good he is. And I think there are people that would just jump for that. Cillian Murphy, a little bit of Paul Mescal that I was talking about last year. I can't find a winner that looks like Cillian Murphy. And a little bit of him reminds me of Tom Hulce in Amadeus. Like, okay. But like, imagine that, like, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. isn't going to go lead or anything, but like, they're just like, he's very reserved, quiet in that movie. Like he has an Oscar scene. What he's doing is great, but it's a quieter confidence that they don't usually jump for in lead actor performances unless, because I would say that's why Benedict lost Power of the Dog. Like, like he was just too
quiet and controlled.
Quiet, controlled. Like what he was doing was like Cody Smith McPhee probably lost for that same exact reason. Yeah. So I think that's what's tough for him. Coleman Domingo, I think it's easy to write off because people are like, okay, your movie's not gonna be nominated for Best Picture. But Coleman Domingo is very well liked, very popular. And again, you finally get in, people are gonna be like, oh yeah, let's do this. And Leo, I think he's great in Killers of the Flower Moon. And I think if you have Lily winning Best Actress, if you think Lily's gonna win Best Actress, I think it's hard not to predict Leo in the 5. Yeah. But sometimes you just don't, like, sometimes you're Tom Hanks and Captain Phillips, right? And you just like you could never have convinced me to predict Barkhead Abdi without Tom Hanks, and then that's exactly what happened. So ergo, what I'm saying to you, Ethan, is I think you need to prep for anybody to miss. And Andrew Scott, unfortunately, I think is the hardest number 7 of all time. Like, I think he is so aggressively number 7. He should be in the 5. I think he's in my personal 5. But I think he's just number 7. Like, I think, which, by the way, could make him a surprise. I think when you're number 7, you're just, because when everyone's going to be that close in votes, all you need to do is just be like, okay, I'll get over you, and then I'm in a 5. And then there's 2 big people that miss. Well, and then you're Andrea Riseborough and 2 Leslie.
Yeah, exactly. Either way, I will have Kleenex ready for Ethan. It's like, there's a good chance.
Something's not gonna fall my way. It's kind of a given.
Listen, my gut check honestly, like if I'm saying there's no locks, but I feel comfortable in continuing to predict Bradley, Paul Giamatti, and Cillian Murphy to be in the 5.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
What happens in the end is completely up to Jesus.
Well, I can hope for Giamatti.
It's up to the voters, Clayton. It's up to the voters to make the right choices.
Jesus,
that's what we're doing.
But there is no right choice, Ethan. There is just choices. Like it becomes like, this is always like the big thing. Like, oh my God, how could you do this and not do that? Listen, we can bitch and moan about stuff for forever. Like, listen, I think it's going to be hard. Like, if Bradley Cooper walks in, if he gets 4 categories this year, is this man really about to go 0 for 13 in his life? Like, that is like a tough pill to be like, how do we not like just be like, here, Bradley, take one of these.
Yeah. Does he just pull?
We'll see you later.
Does he just pull an Adam Sandler and is like, if I don't win an Oscar, I'm going to make absolute dog shit the next time I make a movie?
No, Bradley's going to, he's one of those guys like, you're like, yeah, you're going to win an Oscar one day. Yeah, it's about win. Fair. And that's also another thing that people always forget. I think this factors in a lot. I think this was the tipping of Michelle Yeoh last year. It's the thing that we all don't want to say out loud is that people, when they vote, they say to themselves, are we ever going to get another crack at this? Yeah. And we all knew last year, deep down inside, truth or not, we were like, this is the only shot we're ever going to get at Michelle Yeoh. Kate, we'll see you 5 more times in the next 10 years.
Right.
Michelle, we'll probably never see you again. Let's do this now. It's now or never. And I think Paul Giamatti has a lot of that. It's like, how are we ever really going to get another crack? I mean, listen, he missed for Sideways. He got in for Cinderella Man that next year, and we never saw him again at the Oscar.
Yeah. If Giamatti wins, maybe he can use that weight to get a Amazing Spider-Man 3 greenlit, come back as Rhino, what we've all been waiting for, Can
I a little preview of my podcast episode?
Yeah.
Did you know that Paul Giamatti is an avid animator?
No,
really?
He fucking animates. Like that guy. When I say Paul Giamatti might be one of my top 5 favorite people I've ever interviewed.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to just sit with him for hours. And I was really nervous to interview him because I thought he was going to be Grumpy McGrumperson because he just kind of feels like he would be. Talk to him about movies, man. We talked about like he's literally the best. We like fanboyed over Kaylee Carter from Private Life and how great that movie is.
Nice.
I love Private Life.
And Catherine Hahn's unfucking forgotten performance. Jesus.
Yeah.
He's like the best. And I think like, and what's funny, he's doing work and like, there are people who don't campaign. And I always heard that Paul Giamatti doesn't campaign because he was so scarred from Sideways. And he's been out doing making the rounds. I think
doing GQ videos, man.
I think that is a big thing for a lot of people is like, when Oscar voters want you to want it a little, and it's okay to want it. But there's also times you want it too much.
Because Bradley Cooper is capital C campaigning.
Do you guys remember like right before The Revenant, like everyone kept saying that Leo was chasing an Oscar, and that was like on the internet manifestation of like they feel like he was chasing it, and I really don't think he was. I don't think like I think everyone wants an Oscar. I don't think there's an active to chase it. I don't think Bradley's chasing it either. I think Bradley, honestly, I think this is my opinion. I don't know this for sure, but I think Bradley really just wants to be a director. I don't think he wants to act as much.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Going 0 for 13 though would be
like I would feel terrible for him. I mean, listen, do you remember that moment that Glenn Close lost? So we all looked and we said, "Ooh, you picked the right choice, Academy," but damn, Glenn Close, you're 0 for 7. Like there is a lot of that sometimes that you're like, ooh, like you're like, that's why I think kind of whoever wins, we all win kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we can all argue about who it should have been. But I think listen, I think weirdly, I think if Nolan's winning and the movie's winning Best Picture, I actually think that kind of weirdly hurts Cillian Murphy's winning chances because they already say to themselves like, we're giving Oppenheimer shit. Like, we don't need to have to give it to everybody. Especially if Downey Jr. is on the table, like what people think. Which brings me to my next piece of information for Ben to use.
Yeah.
Even though Downey Jr. is leading the precursors, the amount of awards he's won the most so far. Not by much, but he has.
Mm-hmm.
I think there seems to be like a hard 4 in supporting actor. And I just feel like it's too simple in that category. And I might be completely wrong about it. I just feel like we're poised for a shocker of a miss. And Downey Jr. just looks like someone that would happen to. Because I don't feel the same overwhelming feeling that the internet says that, it's time for Downey Jr. to win an Oscar. I don't think the industry feels like that. Not saying that they think he's a bad actor, but Bradley Cooper were like, 0 for 11. That's like crazy. Robert Downey Jr., I think people were like, you got nomination for Chaplin, got nomination for Tropic Thunder. But I don't think there's ever been this feeling like, where's his Oscar?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's Marvel fanboys that like obviously love Iron Man, but like Mark Ruffalo needs an Oscar because he's done like a lot of stuff. But like I don't know. If
they knew and they let it happen. Where's our Oscar?
And Downey hasn't been doing as much campaigning as like Killian and everyone else has. So I wonder a little bit.
Do you think
if Robert is a little vulnerable?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, do you think Gosling's got a chance? Like, could he snatch it from Robert Downey?
I think Gosling's winning.
Okay.
Today.
Wow.
Today I feel like Gosling's winning. I think Gosling's winning because I think Barbie's winning screenplay no matter where the screenplay ends up going at
Original
the Oscars.
adapted, yeah.
Original adapted. I think they're gonna be, I don't think you can give it to Gosling by himself and not have anything for Greta. So I think Greta's gonna win screenplay. And then I think the only way Oppenheimer loses Best Picture is if Greta gets snubbed in director, and then it becomes Argo 2.0.
Oh,
then boy. I think the Academy is going to eat shit. And then, actually, let me preface that a little bit. If Greta misses director and there's no women in director because if Celine Song is there, then I don't think the same ripple effect happens.
Gotcha.
But if Greta misses director, there's no women in director, the Academy eats shit, Barbie wins Best Picture.
Wow. That would be interesting. That would be a lot to take in.
That's its only pathway, though. That's the only pathway I see for Barbie winning Best Picture. Like, even if it got 13 or 12 nominations, but Greta's in director, I don't think, like, it does it. Yeah. If it misses director, it Argos itself.
Can I ask you about the other Robert that might be up for a Best Supporting Actor? You think De Niro's in for Killers?
I think De Niro's in, for sure. I think he's in.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
As a matter of fact, I think if De Niro hadn't won twice, he'd be winning this year.
Interesting.
I think that's the best. I think that's the best performance he's done in like 15, 20 years. I think he's actively incredible.
Let me continue asking you about Killers of the Flower Moon, because I feel like, and I think we feel like here on the pod and kind of what we're hearing from our, viewpoint over here is that best score is really kind of between Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon. Of course, you have Ludwig Göransson, who the Academy likes and has awarded previously. But then you have Robbie Robertson and kind of what would be his posthumous award for Killers of the Flower Moon. Mm-hmm. I'm just curious from a viewer perspective, how much does that play? Because obviously the last time someone was up for a posthumous award, it went absolutely terribly at the very end of the Oscars and was kind of pushed to the side and hopefully quickly forgotten about. And that sparked a very big backlash. Does this help Killers of the Flower Moon potentially take home score? How do you see it shaking?
I don't think posthumous. I think you being, it sounds more graphic than I probably mean for it to sound. I don't think you being dead has any effect on whether you're going to win the Oscar or not. The way people think it does. I think it helps you get into a lineup for sure. Listen, August Wilson also got nominated for adapted screenplay like 10 years after his death for Fences. And that movie wasn't coming in earshot of winning adapted screenplay. I think it's Ludwig's to lose. I think the challenger to winning is Spider.
Okay.
Oh.
Dang.
Oh. That's interesting. For score.
Yes. I think that Pemberton score is actively incredible, and they've done a really good job on that push. I think that's the challenger. But I kind of don't. I feel score is one of those categories where we all twist ourselves into pretzels to try to create a battle, and it's just like, okay, it's going to be Oppenheimer, guys. We can just accept that part of it. Like, it's going to win score. We don't have to overthink this. So I think that, but back to killers for a moment. And again, I have full range to change my mind. My mind is an evolving predictor. I think the only pathway for a win for that movie at the moment, unless something shifts, I think it's Lily Gladstone. I don't see that movie winning.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it has a really tough battle in a lot of other categories. And I personally see Lily winning in that category. I know you mentioned like Carey Mulligan for Maestro. Obviously, we have Emma Stone in Poor Things. Like, I really do feel like it's hers to lose.
It's between Emma and Lily. That's why I really just think it's between Emma and Lily. And I think a little, again, Michelle Yeoh syndrome. I think people don't want to say it out loud, but like, we're only going to see Lily here one time. It's really hard to give Emma a second. Like, here's another for you, and we're never going to see you again. And you know, and listen, I hope Lily has a flourishing career. She's like incredible. Like, listen, I think Lily Gladstone and Killers of the Flower Moon, let me give this disclaimer. I think it's an all-timer. Like, that's how good I think she is in that movie. And I love Scorsese, and I love the movie. We just get reactions from people, and I think there is a little bit of a trying to weigh it and saying like, okay, if they're going to give it to Killers, I think they're going to give it all the way to Killers. Let's say that. There is no split picture director scenario that is like Killers win picture.
That was my next question.
And Nolan went, no. That split to me, splits have to make sense to me. Barbie Oppenheimer split makes sense if Greta's not there, or even maybe if Greta's not there, then that makes sense. I think Scorsese and Nolan are two people that they're either going to be like, here's like 3 for you, Scorsese, or 2 or 3 for you, Nolan, and they're not going to like divide it up. Like, people were like, oh, what if they get Killers adapted screenplay and you can give it to Scorsese that way? The Academy doesn't think like that, and I just don't think they're going to be like, oh, okay, here, great director, here's your adapted screenplay, like second Oscar. No one's going to give a shit about that. So like, they want him to win director, and they give Scorsese director, I don't think they're splitting and then saying like, okay, Oppenheimer, but here's picture. I think they're just going to give Killers picture.
Okay, so you think like in the telecast as we are watching it, just plain ordinary citizens, Ben and I, when that best director category comes up and we see Scorsese win it, we're like, okay, cool.
I think you'll
seems
be like
it'll
oh,
be Killers.
Shit. Yeah, like, I mean, listen, if Greta's snubbed, then I think a Barbie Killers split would be hilarious. Like, in a lot of ways,
wild.
I mean, listen, I was saying to people early on, I was like, listen, just for the pure hilarity of it, can you just imagine that Christopher Nolan lost to Greta Gerwig in director? Like, just like really put yourself into that moment, and how
the world would explode.
Well, I'm just thinking about it. Like, I would like, just as an internalized like conversation with myself, I'm like, Nolan, there's nothing you can do to win an Oscar. Like, there's nothing. Like, you just you are Alfred Hitchcock. There's nothing you can do. Like, if you can't get it now, they're never going to give it to you. Do whatever you want. Pull a Fincher. Say, I'm going to do a Killer, whatever the fuck I want anymore. I'm not trying to appease you kids.
Like, you changed the game in 2008. We appreciate it. We're just not going to give you
we're just never going to recognize you for
that. Never.
You mentioned the Killer, and I know Ben has a question that he wants to go into here, but I have the Killer predicted to get in for sound. Can you just at least confirm for me, like, that's not totally far-fetched, and that we actually can do that?
It's on the short list, so yeah, absolutely. I think
okay, great.
I think it totally get in for sound, and by the way, I think it would be deserved. It's fucking killer sound design.
Yes. Killer fucking rules.
I actually really like the Killer, which I'm surprised that I did, because I didn't think I was gonna like. But it was a good throwback movie, very 90s-esque thriller. I think that's it though. Like, or maybe cinematography in a weird world, because Eric Messerschmidt is like, he won an Oscar before for a Fincher movie, so maybe.
Well, we talked about Scorsese maybe getting his second Oscar. We have another fantastic director. I'm curious, is Miyazaki going to be getting his second Oscar win here for Boy and the Heron? Do you think he can take home animated? There's some stiff competition this year, but it's Miyazaki. We talked about, we don't know when we're going to see these people up for nomination again.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you asked me 4 months ago. I'm like, there's nothing that beats Spider-Man. As time has gone on, that window seems to get a little tighter. So I was like, maybe you have to work for a little more Spider-Man. Just make sure you get that animated feature win. Miyazaki, a little bit of Scorsese thought process also is you're hyper aware that they're 81 and 82 years old, right? And you're like, guys, how much more time do we have with them? Like that starts to kind of like, the really sad feelings. Like you're like, I don't know how much more Scorsese, Miyazaki stuff we're gonna have. So how about we just do it? The other thing about Miyazaki, though, I mean, he's won, and I still think, because remember, the whole Academy then votes on animated feature, and I just think that they're watching Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Then it's often what is the most watched, not necessarily what's the best movie. And spoiler alert, both those films are in my top 10 of the year, so I think that they're both great. I just think it's Spider-Man's at this point.
Yeah.
I real quick before I do some like quick fire questions to kind of round us out here. I'm really curious, and this is kind of circles back to like the Maestro conversation, the May December conversation, these streaming platforms, the holdovers conversation about when these movies decide to go to streaming and what services and platforms they do decide to do. Across the Spider-Verse hit Netflix on October 31st. Of course, Maestro was just released a few weeks ago. By the time that this pod will have been released, the holdovers will have been out on Amazon Prime for about a week. Every studio seems to have a different cadence and a different idea of when to maybe publish or put their things out to streaming. From your standpoint and being closer to the voters and what they watch and these types of things, does that truly make a difference? I guess I ask because like if Spider-Man's been around on Netflix for 4 months by the time that people vote, did they miss that little bit of a rising wave where Maestro might have a better ability to capitalize on being available for a shorter amount of time and having more prevalence in the conversation?
I don't think it really matters in the minds of voters. It just becomes a talking point and more time and more opportunity to see the movie. So like I'm a BAFTA voter and we have an online BAFTA viewing portal. And when they're available there is probably the most important thing. Because like Iron Claw didn't drop on the BAFTA portal till December 22nd.
Dang.
Whoa, interesting.
Or was it December 15th? One of those 2 dates. And I think that sucked for it. And then there was something else that dropped. Oh, Color Purple, I think, dropped like the 19th or something like that, or the 11th. So I think when they go up on the respective viewing platforms, remember, there are no more DVDs allowed for BAFTA and the Oscars. They have to use the online portal. And that is what's most important.
Interesting.
But the fact that Spider-Man was on Netflix does allow more options, because there are times you're just scrolling, and then if you come across it, then you're like, oh, and like, in October you're not thinking about really your BAFTA portal yet. You're like, oh, let me just watch Spider-Man, and then you get to do that. I still believe, without any shadow of a doubt, Schitt's Creek won the Emmy because of Netflix, even though it had nothing to do with it. Because what they did was they dropped all the seasons on Netflix in that viewing window, and the entire world in the middle of a pandemic binged that entire series.
I was one of them, yes.
I was one of them too. And then I'm always like, you guys won that show comedy series, not Pop TV.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, this has been a very interesting conversation. Lots of really great insight. I want to do some like rapid fire questions. I really want all of us to answer if we can. And I'm just curious, what kind of comes to the top of your mind with these questions? We'll break them down if
Damien
we need
Chazelle
to.
movie. It's Whiplash. Go ahead. Go.
Whoa.
It's the right answer. It's the right answer.
It is Whiplash.
Damn.
Go.
Oh, I disagree, but okay, this is interesting. So, okay, Clayton, I'll start with you. Which movie stands to gain the most momentum over the next X number of weeks before voting closes?
The Holdovers.
Ben?
It's a holiday movie.
I'm hoping the Iron Claw.
Mm-hmm. I'm also going to say The Holdovers. I think that is going to see a pretty big resurgence. Which movie stands to lose the most momentum over that same time period?
You're not gonna like the answer. Past Lives.
It's rough. Just to even it out, I'm gonna say Oppenheimer. It's a hope. That's a hopeful thing.
Bad
right
takes on both ends. Holy cow.
Actually, you know what? It Past Lives, and hopefully I'm wrong about this. American Fiction.
Oh yeah.
Yes. American Fiction, a movie we haven't touched on at all.
Spoiler alert, my favorite movie of the year.
Oh,
There you go.
your favorite, number one.
Number one movie this year.
Wow. Okay, I haven't seen it. I don't believe Ben has seen it. It's just like not out yet, and I know it's been playing at festivals for a while, and I just hear everybody talking about it. But I haven't been able to see it yet, and I get
so good.
personally frustrated at that. Okay, Ben, you said Oppenheimer, and I guess I respect you for that answer. I'm gonna say another pretty hot take. I'm gonna say Poor Things. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that could lose some momentum for sure. Is Maestro getting in the top 10 Best Picture? Will it be a nominee?
Yes. I think undoubtedly yes.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go no. Why not?
I'm gonna.
So, because I think that's like, I'm curious because I've been seeing this like come up on the internet again of like people are like, oh, it's not going to get nominated for Best Picture. I guess why do you think it's not?
I mean, I don't know that I have any logical reason behind it. I loved A Star Is Born. I think like we know, the Academy loves nominating him, so I think it's there. I just feel like there's a lot of really good movies this year, and I guess, you know, maybe I'm answering with my heart as well, where it's like if we get down to that 10 spot and it's Past Lives or Maestro, I really hope something like Past Lives gets the nomination. So I have no logic to back up my answer, but that's just kind of how I live my life, you know?
Yeah, I live my life. No, that's just accurate. So what I always say I'm always like, okay, if it doesn't make it, what replaces it? Mm-hmm. And are you telling me that Netflix gets 0 films into Best Picture? And that for me is like, they're really good at getting films nominated. Not obviously not winning Best Picture.
Totally fair.
But they're even preposterous sometimes will get a movie into Best Picture. And Maestro just seems like they're one, like, yeah, it's in picture. Like whether I don't think it's contending to win Best Picture.
Yeah.
But I think it would have to, I feel like it would have to like, a really good example of the last Best Picture nominee that I could think that was supposed to be a Best Picture nominee that really fell apart in the 11th hour was Into the Wild. That movie collapsed in the brief. We thought Sean Penn was getting to director, Emil Hirsch, Hal Holbrook, Catherine Keener, adapted screenplay, like 3. So people had that at like 9 nominations. They got 2, and it was like Hal Holbrook and editing. It.
Dang.
So so there's precedent for what you're saying. I just like I just need to find like why did this fall apart?
Yeah.
Let me extrapolate that question in terms of Netflix. Does May December make the 10 for Best Picture?
2 weeks ago I would have said yes. As we go further, I'm thinking. I think it's actually losing some steam, and I love that movie. I think it's a little too Todd Haynes, like he's kind of in the Wes Anderson boat, right? Like you have to like just really be on board with Todd Haynes a lot. And I love May December so much. My gut check right now says no, it's not.
Yeah. I'd probably say no as well. I think it might be pretty close to being on the bubble. Ben, you think May December's in?
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay, this is a curveball. Best costume design. Who do you think is going to win Best costume design? Because I think there's Poor Things Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer. You have these really big players in costume design that I feel like anybody could really take it. I'm curious.
I think it's Barbie.
Yeah, I'll go Barbie.
Barbie. I think it's Barbie or Poor Things, and that's it. I think it's only one of those two.
Nice. Okay.
But I think the sneaky nominee there is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Yes.
So coming from Anne Roth, who is in Barbie. She's the old lady on the bench.
There you go.
Barbie's helping her get an Oscar nom. Going to be the oldest nominee in history of any category.
That'd be amazing.
Wow. That'd be awesome. I have Poor Things winning, not to take the fun scheme out of that.
Do you have it winning production design also?
That's a good question. I'd have to find where that is on my no. I have Barbie winning production design.
I literally think it's between those two in both those categories, even though I think Oppenheimer could win production.
I think that's where I split. I have Poor Things winning costumes. I have Barbie winning production design. Clayton, you already mentioned your favorite movie of 2023 is American Fiction. Can you give us your second favorite movie since you spoiled my question early?
Origin. Ava DuVernay's Origin.
That's not out yet either. Killing me. Two movies
I think we
I
had
can't
this
see.
happen last year. If I remember correctly, your favorite movie of 2022 was Close.
Yes.
That movie fucking wrecked me, dude. I watched that this year and I was just like, Clayton was right. This movie is amazing.
It was also like a movie I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this again for a while.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
But it like destroyed like my face in Telluride. Like,
I kept thinking about you while I was watching. It's like Clayton was totally right. This movie is fantastic.
Now, imagine sitting in a theater like and just like hearing everyone sob around you. And then I ran into the woman later that day that was sitting next to me. She's like, I'm so sorry I was crying. I was like, I was fucking crying. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
We're all losing it.
Ben, you also already said your favorite movie of the year. Do you have a second favorite you can share?
Oh, man. I mean, we just kind of talked about, this is not the right answer, but Stop Making Sense re-release, man. I had such a good time with that. Like, I know it's not really 2023, but that's like the most fun I had in the theater this year.
You can take it.
Yeah.
That's a good pick. Oppenheimer is obviously my favorite. I have Past Lives as my second favorite.
An A24 movie, really? I would never
have guessed.
Who would have thought? Yeah. This guy. Okay, last question. Most underrated movie of 2023. If someone hasn't seen it, recommend that they see it.
I'll give you two.
Yeah.
Monster, which is Koreeda's movie, and I say his best movie. He did Shoplifters, Monster.
Okay.
I didn't even know it was getting released this year. That's how under the radar this movie has flown. Japan didn't select it as its selection. It's how do I describe it? It's Moonlight meets My Girl. Like it is. It's incredible. And also you'll cry a ton. And the other one is Robot Dreams.
Oh, I keep hearing good things about this.
Oh, like it's my Marcel the Shell this year. Like it's fucking delightful. It is so good, and there's no dialogue, and it's so warm and fuzzy, it makes you cry.
Okay, I've added both of those to my watch list in live time.
Yeah.
Ben, underrated movie for the year?
I'm staying on brand with the pod. I'm gonna go with my number 5 favorite of the year, Priscilla. I think I'd like more people to see it. I thought it was really good.
Didn't make the short list. What are we doing?
I don't know.
Didn't make the makeup and hairstyling short list.
Yeah,
because Priscilla's not really that good of a movie.
Whoa!
I mean, like listen. You know what? So again, I'm gonna keep throwing people in the same boat. Sofia Coppola's in the Wes Anderson boat too.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm,
yeah, like there's, but also but Sofia Coppola, I think, interestingly, is in a secret other boat where we all argue about what her good movies are and what her bad movies are. No one agrees on that.
Yeah, for sure.
We have there's aggressive fights about it, and even people were like, no, but everyone thinks Lost in Translation is good. I don't think Lost in Translation is that good. I think On the Rocks is incrediable.
I've only ever seen Priscilla. That's the only Sofia Coppola movie I've ever seen. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Wait, you've never seen The Bling Ring, an A24 movie?
Oh no, I have seen The Bling Ring, and I did not like it whatsoever. So there's that.
And this will start the arguments back and forth. Listen, if you don't get your ass to go watch The Virgin Suicides and On the Rocks,
I know,
like, those are
On the Rocks is like right up my alley too. That's like everything that I want in a movie.
And I'd be curious for you to watch Marie Antoinette at the age you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it when I was younger, and then I saw it later in life, and I thought it was really good. And I'd be interested.
Thank
to
you.
see. Well, we want to see how.
Are you classifying me in the younger version, or are you putting me in the I'm aged now?
Nice try, fucker. No, no. It's. I think there are so many movies that like I think you're too young to watch and then appreciate in their moment. Like Amadeus, I saw it the first time when I was in high school, and I shouldn't have watched it then.
Yeah.
Sure. And I watched it in high school and college, and I was like, oh wait, this is like actually a good movie. At the time, I was like, this is so boring. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've said that. They're like, I'm glad I watched this movie now in my life because I probably wouldn't have appreciated it if I watched it when it came out or whatever.
Yeah.
I think my two underrated movie picks, I'm going with Infinity Pool. I still think it's one of like the better movies of the year.
Actually, I haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. I love it. I thought it was great. I thought it was a little heavy-handed for sure, but I think it's a pretty good sophomore outing for Brandon Cronenberg. And it's Mia Goth, and Alexander Skarsgård just like doing weird fucking stuff, which is really really cool.
There's always an A24 connection for you. God,
you're
Ethan.
You're putting me in a box.
No, listen. Can I just say, I just love how on brand you are. Like it's really a turn.
I'm not trying to be on brand. I'm just saying.
But this is the thing. I'm on brand too. Like I'm pretty. Like I tell people I'm pretty basic, and like you can kind of know like what is going to be like a Clayton type of joint.
Sure.
And I like when other people I could read that pretty like. So when you saying Infinity Pool, I was like, oh yeah, that tracks.
let me give you another on brand pick, and that's going to be Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I know a lot of people are finally getting around to seeing this.
Thought you would say that.
It's in my top 5 of the year. I just adore this film.
Also, very My Girl. That movie is My Girl meets The Sandlot. It is delightful.
Yeah. It is so delightful. I have 2 girls that will one day be teenage girls, and this movie really, really spoke to me on that effect. I think Rachel McAdams is excellent in it.
Hopefully your 2 girls grow up to be adult Rachel McAdamses, because she is...
Yes, please.
She's
so sublime.
I interviewed her for the first time a week ago. I'd never spoken to her before. Like, bucket list, checked off. Mm-hmm. Delightful human. So talented. And what she does in that movie... Like, I love an Oscar scene that, like, it's almost like it's the dinner table scene when she's like, that was me.
Of course.
But she, like, mouths that was the way she hits her chest. I'm like, give her one. She needs one.
And it's the way she turns around and, like, says sorry, where you're just like, oh, wow, this is real. The connection, obviously, being Benny Safdie, and him just being, like, the ultimate suburbs dad in that movie. I just love everything he does in that film.
Yeah. I told her in the interview, I was like, I love how Benny Safdie has mastered dumb dad face in that movie.
So good.
He knows dumb dad face, and he just like nails it every time.
Yeah.
So good.
So good. Awesome. Okay, that's all that I've got for my rapid fire questions. Clayton, thanks for coming on the pod, dude.
I wanted more A24 questions. I feel very disappointed, but I have a little let down.
Okay. All right. Let me hit you with one then. What is we just did our top 5 A24 movies of the year last week on the pod. What is if you want to give your top 5, go for it. But what would be your favorite A24 film of the year?
Well, interesting is that I have 3 A24 movies in my top 10 this year.
Okay.
Which
you call me out for having one. Holy smokes.
Listen, I just, not on brand though. Obviously it's Past Lives, Zone of Interest, and Iron Claw. The other 2 from this, Dream Scenario.
Okay.
Pretty dope. I like.
Pretty good.
God bless Nicolas Cage, man. And Julianne Nicholson. Yeah. And then the other one, I think, which I don't think you liked, Dix the Musical.
Oh, shucks. Shucks.
Dix is fun, man.
It was okay. It was all right. They were going for it there.
So fun. My God. And you know what? Completely will acknowledge it's because I saw it at the midnight premiere at Toronto where they dropped inflatable dicks from the ceiling. Like,
how are you not going to love that movie?
Really, like, even if you were hating the movie, that just fucking brings you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But that movie is it's so much fun. Like it's just a right. Like I think it's not perfect at all, but it definitely like it does its job.
Nice.
Are you pro or anti Beau's Afraid?
You know what's funny? It's one of the 3 movies this year that I said I want to watch it again before I have a firm opinion, because I think I'm pro, but I don't know how pro I can get. I think I can get more pro. And I think I need to really take some stuff in with it, which it's an Ari Aster joint. Ari Aster just doesn't like his movies aren't just one and done movies. Like there's more to get every time. But I think I'm pro. I think I can be more pro. I think that is a movie similarly to the assassination of Jesse James, that the first time I saw it, I gave it 2.5 stars. And today, when I redo my top 10 of 2007, it's my number 2 film.
I like it.
Interesting.
It's a great
Ben
film.
and I were in the same boat, right, Ben?
Yeah. Yep. I'm still there.
Are you very pro?
Not for Beau, no, but no. I admittedly was ready for the trilogy of Hereditary, Midsommar. I went in with that mindset because I love, Midsommar is one of my favorite movies ever. I love these movies.
Do you like do you like Midsommar more than Hereditary?
Yeah.
Interesting. I have those flipped.
But Beau, just I couldn't wrap my head around what I was getting the whole time. I was like, okay, what the fuck is happening? So I'm with you though. I need to rewatch it again before I can really give an honest opinion on it, because I'm aware that I'm at fault here for how I feel about it.
You're the problem.
I am the problem. This is user error for sure. Yeah.
Welcome to my life, Ben. That's how I feel every time I step on the pod, man. Clayton, thanks for coming on, man. Great way to kick off Oscar season. As always, it was a pleasure to have you. If people want to follow you, find more of you, find your predictions for the Academy Awards, where can they do that at?
Follow me at Benny Burrito. It's by Clayton Davis, BY Clayton Davis, on all social media platforms, and hopefully, you'll see me again at the Oscars for the pre-show on ABC, because I did that the last few years, and hopefully we'll do more of it, and then I'll hopefully be waving to Rachel McAdams, Oscar nominee. And other people
Fingers
walking
crossed.
by. Listen, SAG is the key here. Rachel McAdams missed Golden Globes for Spotlight, and then she got in SAG, and then it translated fine. So maybe we're okay.
Fingers crossed.
You get a +2 for that pre-show, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great, cool.
And I'll be bringing Benny Burrito and Rachel McAdams.
Perfect.
God damn it.
Yeah.
This close. Could have been me.
I know.
Dream blunt rotation right there, you know.
Ben, how would you act in front of Rachel McAdams? I need to know what kind of people I can bring around you.
With class, definite class, and then just probably quoting Mean Girls all night. But yeah, other than that.
This isn't. I would just see her and I would just be like, they knew the whole time.
I love that when I talked to her, the first thing I came out, I was like, listen, I have to tell you my favorite movie of yours, and I promise you it's not Mean Girls.
Yeah,
it's Disobedience. That is.
I've had that on my watch list forever.
Have you not watched it?
I haven't seen it.
Ethan, please do
You found
this.
the 2 weak spots in my watch list, Clayton. I've watched 320 movies this year. Come on.
And none of them were Sofia Coppola's.
This is true. Just one.
The one. I want you to watch. You have your homework. I want you to watch Virgin Suicides, and I want you to watch Disobedience.
Okay. I will do my best. If you can promise me that Oppenheimer walks away with 12 wins, then I'll put it in my homework.
So this is not happening.
It's not.
There is the most. Here it is. The most Oppenheimer can win, I think, is 8, maybe 9.
Yeah, okay. 8, 9. Yep.
Which is still dope, by the way.
It's insane. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, Slumdog won 8. It's the most winning movie in last most winning movie. So
sure. Well. Yeah. I'm excited for whatever's going to happen at the 2024 Academy Awards. Next week here on the pod, we are kicking off our Best Picture breakdowns. We're doing our Best Picture season. We're starting with Barbie. That was our number 1 pick. We have a wonderful guest, Bobby, from the afternoon special show.
Cool. You can't talk about your fucking next date when you're on the date. I hope Bobby's delightful.
A lot of pressure to kick off both this and the other pod, Clayton. So respect where it's due. We have to guess our Best Picture nominees for the next 4 episodes of the show, because the nomination list won't come out in time. So fingers crossed, Barbie's on the list. I feel like it is.
That sucks to do it that early.
How do you feel about Barbie, though? Do you think it's a good one for us to start with?
Yeah,
like
Barbie's
lock, right?
Listen, I'll give you so whatever order, but I think you can do Barbie, Oppenheimer, Killers, Poor Things, Holdovers.
That's our first 4, actually. You nailed it in order. We did it.
My Sure and American Fiction.
Nice.
Ah, okay. Yes,
those are your 7. Like those are your 7 lockers.
Okay. Yeah, that's what we've got. And yeah, we're excited to kick off this Academy Awards season. So it's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be super fun. Let us know what you guys think about the 2024 Academy Awards. Clayton, thanks so much for coming back.
Thanks, Mr. Burrito.
If anyone wants to follow us, we're on Twitter and Instagram at 24 minutes of A24. You can also follow us on YouTube, where you can see all 3 of our beautiful faces here, our staycation faces. Got the stuff growing in, not at work. I love it. Follow us on YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell, all that kind of stuff. I am Ben Lawhorn.
And I'm Ethan Simi. Thank you to the Academy for the best made-up award show of all time.